Butte Country. This is the Butte Country, this is the Butte Country, this is the Butte Country, I wouldn't live anywhere else. This is the Butte Country, this is the Butte Country,
Plenty of good living.
plenty of good living, living is so easy, I wouldn't live anywhere else.
We got our own home now.
We've got our own shop now.
We've got a free vote now.
We wouldn't live anywhere else.
How important is it to a woman to have a home of her own?
Oh, very important. It's a wonderful feeling to have your own home. I think it'd be terrible not to have your own home. When we first got married, this was our greatest aim, was to have our own home. We never thought of anything else, never travel or anything like this. It was just to have your own home.
Does it matter to you very much what other people think of your home?
Yes, I think it does. I think because we put so much into this. It was hours and hours of thought and a lot of hard work, and it's nice to think that other people think you've done a good job of it and it's turned out, you know, the way you wanted it to.
Despite the twin penalties of mortgages and lawn mowing, Australians crave a home of their own. Our national monument might well be a suburban cottage on a quarter-acre block, for this is what most Australians spend their lives working to pay off. This little corner of suburbia is the biggest showcase of the dream home industry. 18 separate models, each with an enticing name, are wide open for inspection. The pedestrian peak hour here is 3:30 every Sunday afternoon. Some come to buy, a lot simply to look. All are counted as they enter the village, to check their response to the week's advertising. For the dream home business has become a big merchandising exercise. These are no longer just houses, but architect-designed products. And villages like this, the marketplace. To be successful, the company must have what it calls a good model mix, a staple diet of fast sellers to keep prices down on the slower ones. It's a highly competitive market where the home buyer is king until he signs on the dotted line.
The things that we're looking for are sort of well and truly out of our price bracket, and we're trying to find them within our price bracket.
What things are you looking for then?
Well, for one, a well-equipped kitchen, spacious rooms, built-ins, large areas for children when you eventually get round to having them, and availability of transport, I think, mainly.
How important is it to you that you own your own house?
Well, for me, very important. It's something that I think every young family should get into very quickly. It's security for them. They can do a lot with a home. They can get money on it and do things which normally they can't do if they're owning a flat.
How hard have you found it to get the house of your dreams?
Very hard. Every weekend we have to scour the papers and visit all the different villages. Finance seems to be the main problem we've encountered. We had ideas of buying second-hand houses and then buy land and build a new one. It's just very difficult.
Well, what do you think the solution is going to be? Will you have to make a big compromise, or will you just go on renting?
I think probably buy a cheaper home, because it's a waste of time renting. It's only money down the drain. We've got to get finance from somewhere.
Now, in the houses that you've seen, what's put you off the ones that you've rejected?
Prices, again, above your financial means. This is the whole thing. You see plenty of houses you'd like, but just completely out of the range. Only being middle class, this is about all we can do.
The flow of finance for housing has increased, but so have the aspirations of the home buyers. What you can afford boils down to this: how big a deposit have you got, and what sort of a loan can 1/4 of your weekly earnings pay off?
As a younger fellow, home was always very important to me as a teenager, and later on as I became engaged to the girl next door, and I hope that the home will hold exactly the same needs in the heart of my children as it held for me as I grew up.
Is it very frustrating going around these villages and looking at all of these homes weekend after weekend?
I think when we arrive home, it's very disappointing to
I think we go away a little confused, don't we?
Well, when we arrive home, I find our bathroom and our kitchen
These are
not
the rooms,
like I would like it to be.
These are the rooms that have undergone the most dramatic change in the last 8 years.
One village doesn't permit dogs in its houses. Another has a playground for children. Both want their products viewed in peace. No matter how well architects plan, this is where the customer decides whether it's what she wants.
Some of them have those trims, I like the ceilings too. They're a lot moulding there. They seem to be a lot better.
This is nice, but it's not very big, I don't think.
No, I'd rather have a larger
lounge
room. Without the dining room around here.
Yeah, I like it either in an L-shaped alcove or stay separate, I think would be better.
Yes,
but still, it's nice. It's intimate, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. That's those beams on it.
Yeah, they're very nice.
Yeah, it's a bit of a squeeze. I think it's perhaps just for one member of the family in this one.
As a Sunday pastime, looking at project houses is now part of the Australian way of life. Project villages like this see more people on a Sunday than many suburban churches.
Well, they're very different to the English houses. They're much brighter, lighter, more attractive. They've got more things to interest me. The kitchens are beautiful. Generally, if you buy a house in England, you won't buy something with all the cupboards in and all these cookers and marvellous things like this. Generally, they're far more attractive. The designs are far more inspired. You could never buy anything so individual as the houses in Australia, unless you have got an awful lot of money. You'd have to be very, very rich to get anything comparable to these.
Did you find it very hard to find a suitable block of land?
No, but we've had to go a long way away to get one. We've had to move 50 miles from Sydney to find one. But up there we've got a good block of land for a reasonable sort of price. But we couldn't have found one in the Sydney metropolitan area at all.
So does that mean that your husband will have to travel 50 miles to work each day?
No, he'll change his job and work locally up in Gosford.
"34 miles from Sydney lies a broad valley formed by Fisher's Ghost Creek. It's the site of what's termed Australia's first true garden neighbourhood, the suburb of Sherwood Hills that's being developed by Lend-Lease Homes Proprietary Limited. 7,000 trees have been planted here. 2,000 homes will follow. It's all part of the development of Campbelltown as a satellite city with an expected population of 450,000. Campbelltown is 55 minutes by electric train from Sydney. 70% of the wage earners who've come to live at Sherwood Hills commute to Sydney each day. A home and land can be bought here from $1,150 deposit with repayments of $16 per week. To foster a garden setting, no front fences are permitted, and power and telephone lines have been carried underground. The average age of the buyers at Sherwood Hills is between 25 and 35. It was designed above all to attract parents. Fisher's Ghost Park is a creek reserve running through the centre of the project. These 40 acres of bush have been set aside as a children's play area and for weekend picnics. This is an example of what a big developer can do in totally planning a neighbourhood. His profits will still be good, but the result will be better than piecemeal suburban development can usually achieve.
This is the first opportunity we've had to build a complete neighbourhood. Previous to this, we have been doing subdivisions which have been part of other suburbs. Never before have we been able to build or to design and construct a complete neighbourhood as such, and this is our first opportunity.
John Pidcock is the project manager for the Sherwood Hills development at Campbelltown.
Well, John, we have a very big interest in Campbelltown, and our interests are best served by providing a lot of satisfied customers This we can only do by looking after their interests until we sell the very last block of land on the estate and then move on to the one next door, which we hope will be even bigger and better than this one.
How many suburbs do you think your company will develop in this area in your lifetime?
Very hard to tell. We would see certainly 2 or 3 Sherwood Hills, one following after the other as we go along.
Do you find any drawbacks about living here?
For myself, no. Not really, but for the teenagers, yes.
What do you think the place needs for teenagers that it hasn't got?
Well, some form of entertainment, like this recreation hall, or a hall that... Go on, sweetie. Somewhere where they can hold a dance once a week, or have organised sports. I know there's a youth club, the RSL run a youth club, etc., but I think that's for younger children. I'd like to see a bowling alley and a squash court built on the estate, not just for the mothers who live on the estate who could play during the day, but for the teenagers.
What's it like as a place to bring up children?
Marvellous. Wide open space, fresh air, beautiful.
Do you think the day will come when you'll have to incorporate things like golf courses, hotels and lakes and things like that on estates to sell them?
Again, this is dedicated or dictated mostly by the marketplace. If this is what people want, then they're very soon quick to let you know that this is their requirement, and if this is the case, then this is most certainly what we will do. We would like to include these type of facilities in our developments as we proceed.
Architects would probably describe the housing designs on this estate as being comparatively conservative. What's the reason for that?
Again, we try and provide the market with what they want. We would like to proceed and provide very architecturally acceptable homes, but if this is not what the people want, then it's no good providing it, because we're in business to provide them with their requirements and not what we think they ought to have.
Blacktown is not a satellite city, but rather part of the suburban sprawl 22 miles west of Sydney. This street was developed by Australia's biggest spec builder, Eddie Long. Last financial year, his turnover was $3.75 million. He's now completing 12 new homes a week. A house and land here costs from $9,500 in fibro to about $12,000 in brick veneer.
We're trying to cater for the average working man. The other project builders are offering very nice houses around. We say that as far as quality, ours is just as good. We're using first-class materials, first-class workmanship, and perhaps not the embellishments. And when you come into embellishments, well, this is where the money is.
What would you call embellishments?
Well, firstly, I would say a variation design. Some people want a flat roof. Now, to the average person, they would say a flat roof is cheaper, but it's a considerable variation.
Eddie Long is adding to the monotony of suburban architecture 600 new homes a year. He does have 26 different designs. It's just that they all look very similar.
When people criticise streets like this for looking too monotonous with the same sort of house one after the other, what do you think about that?
Well, I can't... I don't like odd houses. I like it mainly to look alike. I don't like too many colonials and then just one square type house. I prefer it to look all like this. This is my own opinion, of course.
We could alter our designs and give more variation in looks, perhaps, but this is basically what the people want.